Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our webinar titled Data-Driven Safety: Advanced Techniques for Future-Proofing Workplaces. Thank you all for joining us today. We have an insightful session lined up that promises to deliver valuable knowledge on how advanced data-driven techniques can elevate workplace safety and prepare your organization for the future. First and foremost, I would like to extend a warm welcome and a heartfelt thank you to all our attendees. Whether you're tuning in from your office, home, or on the move, we truly appreciate your commitment to enhancing workplace safety. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speakers for today's webinar. Our first speaker is Lieutenant Commander Mahendra, a senior consultant at CLIDE. Mahendra brings a deep well of experience in safety consulting and has been pivotal in integrating data-driven approaches to workplace safety across various industries. His innovative strategies have consistently led to safer work environments and stronger safety cultures. Joining him is our guest speaker, Commander Sujoi, Principal Consultant at CLIDE. With an impressive background in consulting and a focus on leveraging data for safety improvements, Commander Sujoi has worked extensively with organizations to enhance safety protocols, minimize risks, and future-proof their safety practices. Their collective expertise will provide us with actionable insights and cutting-edge techniques to apply in our own workplaces. Throughout this session, our speakers will explore the latest advancements in data-driven safety, share real-world case studies, and offer practical advice on using data to anticipate challenges and ensure long-term workplace safety. Good morning, good afternoon, good. In today's webinar, we will delve into crucial aspects of workplace safety through the lens of data analytics. This session aims to empower you with actionable insights and data-driven strategies to enhance the safety and engagement of your workforce. The discussion will be framed around three key topics. First, role of data analytics. Learn how data analytics can identify safety risks and enhance your work environment. Second, application and safety initiatives. Discover practical ways to apply data analytics to monitor and improve safety metrics. Third, data-driven decision-making. Understand how data-driven strategies can boost safety and foster a culture of continuous improvement. Stay tuned and get ready to transform your workplace safety through the power of data analytics and informed decision-making. Before we begin, let's go over some important instructions and protocols to ensure a smooth experience for everyone. During the presentations, all participants will be muted to minimize background noise and ensure clarity. Please keep your microphone muted unless you are invited to speak. You can ask questions throughout the webinar using the chat feature. Our moderators will be monitoring the chat and will address your questions during the Q&A sessions. We'll have time for questions at the end of the session. Also, we will be conducting live polls and interactive activities, so stay tuned and participate actively. Please avoid logging out or closing your session during the seminar to prevent any interruptions. You may leave at any time, but relogging in may not guarantee reconnection to the ongoing session. We encourage active participation. During the scheduled discussion periods, I have the opportunity to unmute yourself and join the conversation. Please wait for the moderator's instructions before unmuting your microphone. To ensure everyone can see and hear clearly, please confirm your audio and visual settings. Simply type yes or no in the chat or raise your hand, and our technical support team will assist you promptly. Thank you for your attention to these guidelines. We're here to make this webinar as informative and interactive as possible. For any further assistance, feel free to reach out to our team. Enjoy the webinar. Without further delay, let me hand it over to Mahendra to kick off our session. Mahendra, the floor is yours.
Very good evening, very good morning, very good afternoon to all. Myself, Mahendra. I'll be presenting this webinar on data-driven safety. You have heard the instructions. Uh, Without much delay, I'll be starting the presentation of the topic about data-driven safety. Every organization today has a lot of data, and they want to utilize this data to make a lot of informed and confident decision to reduce the risk or to achieve the zero harm vision in the organization. And every organization has a lot of data with them which they want to utilize in a right way. Today, this has become a race because every organization wants to be a data driven organization, or in a digitalized race, they want to be a data driven organization. But it is very important to understand what this data is all about and how this data can be used rightly by the organization so that they make strong and confident decision, and at the end of it achieve the one vision in terms of safety, how they can achieve the zero harm vision. But before I begin, would like to know if somebody can answer the question. There is a lot of things they talk about data. Data is a new, and there is a fill in the blanks. If you can submit your response in the chat, data is new. What? They talk about multiple things. I give an example. Data is in soil. So if you can submit your response in the chat, what is data all about? Data is a new dash. I love this question because when I used to go to the school, there used to be a fill in the blanks question, and I used to always get scared by it because what to write because the options are not there. I need to think and I need to write. Maths the pay was very easy for me to at least guess. Okay, these are the right. This is the right pair actually, but in fill in the blanks it becomes difficult. So data is new. I give an example like data is in soil. Or if anyone would like to say something, unmute their mic and say what is data is new. Anyone? Data is new. Or data is a radars.
It's
Everyone,
like
go ahead.
raw data, Mr. Mahendra.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So having said that, data is all about, it's a new oil they talk about, data is a fuel they talk about, data is a gold they talk about, data is a soil they talk about, or data is an oxygen today. You name it, and it is everywhere, and every company wants to use it in a very right way to make a lot of decisions. So before I begin, I would like to have one small poll. I think if you can scan the QR code, and would like to understand now what is the biggest benefit of implementing data-driven safety measures in your organization? Because we are talking about a data-driven where we want to make a decision. So what should be the benefit if I really implement these data-driven safety measures in my organization? What are the expectations? What are the benefits that you think will be drawn by implementing this data-driven strategy? If you can simply scan the QR code and give a response, there is a question and the response are already been there. You need to simply choose one of the response that you feel and tell me. I hope you all are able to scan the QR code, or there is in the chat also. Uh, uh, there is a link been given. You need to simply click on the link. It can open on your mobile, and you can respond. What are the benefits that you can draw from data-driven safety strategies that if you want to implement in the organization? I hope everyone was able to get the link. There is a link available here also. Or you can scan the QR code also, still if you have not, and submit the response. Would like to know the benefits that you all think we can draw from data-driven safety. They should get the response slide. Have to collect the information to decide implement for future aspects. Absolutely correct, sir. Let's see what the response talk about. We'll have some chart available now. Let's see some of the analytics around the responses that was given by you. So we have the poll result. Let's have a look at the poll result. What does it talk about? Somebody talked about reduce incidents and informed decision making. These are the two major outcomes that I could see people have responded. There are 5 responses as of now on it, and two majorly benefits that people look at when they talk about the data-driven safety is all about how they can reduce the incident. That is benefit, and the second one, informed decision making. Oh, that's a wonderful thing. These are the two benefits that we foresee when we talk about a data-driven decision making strategy if we implement in our organization. So let's move ahead and try and understand are this really the benefits which we can draw. So what do data-driven companies, how do they excel in safety basically? If at all we implement this strategy in the organization, now how we can excel. So let's see some of the things. But before we move ahead, let us try and understand what is data and what is analytics. As we have rightly pointed out, it can help you to reduce incidents, it can help you to make informed decisions. But what is data? Data is nothing but collection of facts, and it can be in a structured way or it can be in an unstructured way also. And what is analytics? It's a science of examining raw data impacting organizational decision. Two very important aspect. Data is all about collecting the facts. Like in terms of safety, we collect a lot of data, but it can be in a structured form also, and it can be in an unstructured form. Structured format data can help us a lot rather than in an unstructured format. And analytics is all about examining this raw data, and how it can impact the organizational decision in a long run. So let us understand this data and this analytics from a very simple perspective of risk assessment. We do a lot of risk assessment at our workplace because at the end of it, we want to reduce the risk which is present at the workplace so that nobody is injured at my workplace. So there is a simple principle called C principle. C is nothing but how we can identify the risk. So S stands for search. We will search where exactly the risk is. Basically it starts from the search. S stands for factors where the risk is high in the area. Then we try and evaluate that risk. Now what are the factors that can actually The risk can be on higher side, or this can be on a lower side, or it can be medium, or it can be extreme. So depending upon that, we try and evaluate the risk, maybe on a risk matrix, depending upon the consequences it can have. And then we try and execute, where we try and define certain strategy or a control measure to reduce that risk at the workplace. So it's a simple principle. We apply it on daily basis. I'm trying to correlate how the data is generated in the organization in terms of safety. So I'm starting with a simple principle of risk assessment, where we try and identify a lot of risk at the workplace. We try and search it. We try and evaluate the risk, and then we execute it, how we can mitigate the risk, or how we can reduce the risk at my workplace, and it should be in an acceptable zone. On a daily basis, now there is a wonderful Henry's theory that you must have heard about, and you must be already implemented this theory in your organization. Wonderful research has been done by the scientists, and we see this triangle. At the bottom of the pyramid, we always see there is a incident which has no visible injury. It's nothing but an unsafe act or unsafe condition or at-risk behavior in the organization. And as we go high in the hierarchy of the Henry's triangle, we see some kind of accidents and fatal accidents at the top. This is a wonderful data if you see, and if you closely look at this triangle itself, it is nothing but a data-driven approach. Somebody has done research so many years back, and it is still relevant in today's age also, that we are using the same theory of data-driven some kind of analysis, and we correlate this data with our own data that we identify at a workplace, and we try to see how we can reduce the injuries and the fatalities at the workplace. But when we look at this Henry's triangle very closely, now we always look the triangle from like unsafe act, and we go on the top, the fatal accident. If I put this triangle in a reverse way, what exactly I see? On the top, I see the at-risk behavior, and at the bottom, I see the fatal accidents. We always say that, and I recommend now throughout the consulting project that we have done, we always recommend to put this triangle in this way only. Because where is the data? The data is at the bottom of the pyramid. I'll go back to my previous slide again. Data is at the bottom of the pyramid, and we want to save every fatal accident or every injury or every LTI which is happening at my workplace. So rather putting the fatal accidents on the top, I would like to put it at the bottom, and I would like to put always my sight should be my focus should be always on at-risk behavior or the acts like unsafe act, unsafe condition. I always put this triangle in a reverse way, where I always have a focus on the at-risk behavior or the unsafe act, unsafe condition, because the volume of data lies at the bottom of the pyramid. And we're talking about data-driven strategy or data-driven safety we're talking about. So we need to rely on data, and data should be in volumes to analyze certain things, because there was rightly one thing which was pointed out, that we can make informed decision based on this data to protect our future basically. So where should we looking at? We should be always looking at the volume of data, and volume of data is at the bottom of the pyramid. So why to put the triangle we should put a triangle in a way where the data is always there in my sight basically. There is a wonderful saying, they say, now out of sight and out of mind. So I want to put data on the top, at-risk behavior, and I see if I analyze this data, I can draw multiple conclusions. And based on this data, now I can go down and further say, okay, I want to achieve an outcome of zero harm vision, but this should be on the top. If I further go ahead on this, basically, so when I talk about at-risk behavior or the unsafe act, unsafe condition, there is a volume of data. There are 4 aspects of analytics framework that we can use it to analyze this data, which is at the bottom of the pyramid. And now we have reversed the triangle. Now it is on the top of the pyramid. So it starts with the discovery phase. What do we want, basically, the outcome. Basically, we want to discover this data. What is the data we are looking at? Then we should look at some insights in the data. As of now, we have not started, but let me tell you, there is a data I talked about now on the top of the pyramid. We need to discover that what exactly data that we want. We should identify the insights in that data now, and based on the insights, we should start making decisions, and these decisions will be converted into an actions, and actions will drive to our outcome of zero harm vision. Every company on a year-to-year basis, they make a lot of decisions basically, or they define the goals in the organization. They want to reduce the compliance level, or they want to achieve the zero harm vision, or they want to have identify the near misses in the organization. So you start, basically you have a goal. When you have a goal, you need to identify what data I should collect to achieve that goal basically. So you discover first the data, then you find insight in that data, then you make decision based on the data, you create some actions, and then you have some kind of outcome based on it. It's a simple four-step aspects of data analytics framework. It is a detailed way that we'll cover further, but yes, this is a simple way of understanding how the framework can be applied in terms of analytics when we have a data with us basically. So it's a discover, insight, decision, actions, and then outcome basically. Any question till now on whatever we have covered? We talked about some of the benefits. We talked about what is data, what is analytics, and I showed you some principles of now how we can start with the risk assessment itself that we do on daily basis, and the data is at the bottom of the pyramid. And I talked about simple four steps of analytics where the framework can be used. Any question till now? Anybody wants to know? Otherwise, we can move ahead. Oh, that's great. So let me quickly go to, we have Commander Sujoy with us, and he's been working around this data analytics in various companies. So Sujoy sir, would like to know from you, as I was talking about the framework of data analytics, and there are four steps. But I personally feel by simply implementing these four steps will not help any organization. There should be something extra to it, and I want you to cover something on data-driven culture. Does it impact the data-driven framework?
Yeah, thanks, Mahen, and hello, everyone. So, while we are talking about data-driven organizations, data-driven decision-making, data-driven safety management, the most important part of it is the culture and culture in an organization. When data is seen as, in today's world, as one of the most important resource in an organization, hence it is very essential that we first have a change in mindset. It is only when we have a change in mindset then that it can reflect in the culture. Because it is the shift in the mindset only which will bring in the data-driven organization. Uh, when we talk of data, we also need to understand that every information doesn't graduate into a data. It is when information gets structured, it becomes a data. When data is seen from the rubric of knowledge, it becomes, when it is seen from the from knowledge standpoint of view, it becomes wisdom, and so on and so forth. But main aspect is about the mindset. And when we talk about the mindset, it is one of the hardest challenges to shift the collective mindset of people to embrace data. We need both diligent and patient. We need to be both diligent and patient to steer our team members towards this. Leaders play a very important role, and they are supposed to drive this, because if leaders don't lead by example, it doesn't happen. Followed by that is, of course, the skill set. Data literacy is very important. While culture can bring in change in the mindset, there is a need for change in or strengthening the skill set. To succeed with data, we need specific data-related knowledge and skills. While we can hire people with data skills, but it is the existing talent that possesses the valuable domain knowledge and expertise, and hence there is a need for data literacy. The best library in the world isn't valuable to someone who can't read, and hence it is very essential that we need to read and understand the data, and hence to bring in that culture, data literacy is extremely important, extremely pertinent. There is also a need for sharpening the tool set. When we talk of sharpening the tool set, of course, the technology factor comes in. Organization can accumulate a variety of data systems and tools, but unfortunately, a siloed approach doesn't help, because data is seen as a source of power. And moment it is seen as a source of power, people would like to hold on to it. And when you try to hold on to it, you bring in hierarchy and you clog the 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 data driven process or data driven culture which is needed. Hence, democratization of data is very much necessary. Democratization of mindset is very much necessary. And this is a very important foundational step for any company, any organization towards a data driven team or data driven organization. That's what I would say, man.
That's wonderful thing, sir. I mean, you talked about, if I'm not wrong, you talked about the mindset, the skill set, and the tool set. You're talking about the three aspects of it. when we talk about a data-driven culture in the organization. And the team who are already there in the organization, they should have a literacy level in terms of data, and they can be, as they are the domain expert in the organization, they can utilize this skill set what they have, or sharpen their skill set to make benefit of this data-driven framework, and they can draw multiple decisions based on the data. That's wonderful. Thank you, Sujay sir, for adding a lot of value about the data-driven culture. So moving ahead, Tikana, would like to know now there are three types of basically levels when we talk about, because I talked about the culture. So there are different levels of relying on data. We rely heavily on data today. As we talked about, data is a soil, it's a fuel, it's a gold. Every organization is relying heavily on data. I would like to just know, now you just have a look at the three levels basically. It's a data driven, data informed, or data aware. And just what all you think you are basically. You can put your comments in the chat whether your organization is a data driven, whether it's a data informed, or it is a data aware basically. It's the three levels of relying, how we rely on data basically in today's world, and how we make decisions. So you can put your comments on chat. There is no poll around this actually, but want to know what do you think when you represent an organization. So what generally you think, you are a data driven organization, or you're data informed organization, or you're a data aware organization basically. You can put your comments in chat definitely, and I would like to show what exactly these three means basically. So when you talk about the data driven basically, it's a strong data culture throughout the entire company basically, and that's what I think sir has rightly covered. It's a mindset, the skill set, and the tool set that we're talking about, and the data literacy level. So data driven is all about the data culture, how the organization has a data culture, and it's throughout the company basically. When I talk about data informed, data is used selectively, it is used partially for in the company for some kind of activities they do. Data aware, data is used mostly in justifying the opinion, or whatever we frame an opinion in the organization related to certain activity that we do. So it is used mostly only for framing our opinions at the workplace. So there are three levels of basically how we rely on data, or how we use this data in the organization. The first one is data driven, data informed, and data aware. You can think based on whatever activities you're doing in the organization where you stand actually, and this has a major impact when we talk about a data driven decision making organization, or a data driven culture, or a data driven framework we're talking about. This will have a major impact at your workplace, how you are using this data in your organization, and that will define the end result that you want to achieve in the organization basically. To just give roughly hypothetically, I think people must have answered. I really don't know. I'm not looking at the chat, but I hope the percentage must be something where people are thinking 25% of the participants who are attending, they think they're in data driven, data informed 50%, and data aware 25%. So I'm just hypothetically telling you there is no poll around it, but it is a point to be looked at, or we need to definitely think on this very seriously, whether we are data driven, data informed, or data aware, because every organization is sitting on huge data, and they think that they are data driven basically, but that's not the case. Absolutely not. There is a lot of things that we need to do when we talk about data driven, because it is everything is driven by data in the organization. So if I further move ahead, there should be something now, there should be some characteristics when we want to have a data driven organization, and I should love the data that I have in my organization basically. As we talked about one part, data driven culture, and before that we talked about the framework. There are framework. I talked about the four aspects of data analytics. It's discover, insight, and then we make decision actions, and then the outcome. And so I talked about the culture. There has to be mindset, skill set, and tool set, but there should be something about that. I hope there should be something like data driven organization characteristics. So let's have a look at this. What kind of data driven organization, what are the characteristics basically? So there are a few things I have mentioned here just to understand. Data is managed or been used as an asset in the organization. It's very important. Data is an asset now. Then data is accessible and trusted. It is accessible to every person. We can't use data, okay, this is a very private data, or there is a secure data, I can't share it with my people. It should be accessible to every person, because every person is making decision on a minute to minute basis whenever he do any kind of activity in the organization. It should be easily accessible, seamlessly accessible, and it should be trusted one. Data is used frequently in the organization, in all the meetings, whatever, in all the discussions that we do, it is used very frequently. Data is used in more than one way. It's not only the one way that we're using, okay, for the one decision making, it can be used in many ways in the organization. Data is influencing major decisions in an organization. These are some of the indicators that you can look at when you go back to your organization. Data is competitive differentiator. You are actually using, companies are using this data to be competitive in the market. It's very important. Are they really using it? Culture. There is a curiosity, there is a innovation, there is a experimentation happening around this data. We are trying to find out something or the other in the data, because maybe the case, it's all evolving. This subject is very vast and it's evolving. So you should always have some kind of like learning culture or a curious culture in the organization, where you start doing some kind of experiment with this data. And data skill, now basically so talked about the skill set. Data skill, now when you hire new employees also, or the existing one, you need to have a data literacy in your organization. You should always upgrade the skills in terms of data literacy in your organization. These are some of the indicators or the characteristics of a data driven organization. There should be many more, but prima facie, if you look at it, these are some of the characteristics which sets apart any organization to be as a data driven organization. It's very, very important. So let's move ahead, and I would like to now we'll have a second poll now, as we have learned a few aspects like data culture, and we saw the characteristics, we saw the data driven 3 levels of data, relying on how we rely on data. Let's have one more poll. Now, how does your organization currently use data to enhance workplace safety? First, we talked about what are the benefits. We saw two wonderful benefits of reducing the accident and making decisions. Now, we would like to know how your company is using this data now to enhance the workplace safety. There is a QR code available. There should be what to say, a link also in the chat. You can open that link. As the previous poll that you have done, it's a simple one. I would recommend, or I would. It's a humble request to everybody. You can respond to the question. It's a wonderful thing to get data analytics, because we are using these responses to identify. Now we are actually doing a data analytics on it. You're giving a response and you're trying to understand. It's an exploratory research that we're trying to do as of now. We have given a question. It's an open-ended question, and you can respond. And we'd like to understand how it is used in your organization as of now, because based on that only, you can know actually where to start actually. Because for anything to work in the world, we need to know where do we stand as of now. What is the present level, or what is the present maturity level that we have, and from there we should start. So I hope many people must have responded to there is a QR code, and as I said, there is a link also available in the chat. You need to simply open the link and submit your response. It will not take more than a minute also. Think on it. There are responses been given, and we'll have the poll response. The team will submit the once the analysis is done. Once you submit, they'll pose a chart, and let's have whether. I hope everybody is able to answer the question. Link in the chat box is not posted, you meant to say. Shreya, have you posted the link in the chat? Padram, sir, you can scan the QR code here, and you can simply open the camera from the mobile if you're attending, or you can simply scan it and submit your response. This will actually help us to correlate the previous the response that you have given, and we'll try and correlate this data. So we have a second poll result also available with us. How does organization currently use to enhance workplace safety? Sir, you can still respond to it. Real-time monitoring, predictive analytics, incident reporting, safety training. These are the few things that people think they are using. Currently, they are using data to enhance the workplace safety. It's a wonderful thing. Real-time monitoring, predictive analytics is one of the area. Incident reporting and safety training. Wonderful thing. Wonderful thing. There are 5 responses as of now. So let's go back and see. But before we move ahead, sir, we had a recent poll and we saw the data which talked about, they are using it for training, they are used for predictive analytics, they are using for incident reporting. So what is your thought on it? As we talked about the data-driven culture also, but I think there is something much more about to data-driven culture in terms of the organization also. The organization also should have a readiness level. So can you share your thoughts or some of the tips on the pillars of data-driven organization? By the time I'll share the poll also so that we can listen to you.
Yes, thanks, Mahen. So, if we are to talk about the pillars for a data-driven organization, uh, I would say I will put it in certain categories. First, of course, is the strategy. Having a data strategy is paramount, and if organization does not know where it is going with data and how data will be utilized to help the organization succeed, then there is an issue there. So a data strategy actually helps to shape an organization to be data driven, and that's very important. An organizational data strategy is starting point for organization to succeed with being data driven. So the organization has to figure out what exactly you want from the data that you have, and here the help from the domain experts are also needed. Leadership also has to drive this strategy, and to drive this strategy you require the adequate amount of data literacy. uh, so the first pillar of any data driven organization is of course the strategy. The second pillar happens to be the leadership. Within a data driven organization, leadership and its ability to take organizational data strategy and bring it to light is crucial for its success. Leadership sets the tone for the organization and the organization will follow. If leadership is not using data and insight to make decisions, then there is no incentive for other team members who are comfortable using data to use the data to make decisions. Now, here we have to understand that most of our organizations are multi-generational, and the proficiency with which a, a millennial operates or handles or uses data is different than what a person of a Y or X generation does. It's also true that leadership doesn't need to know everything when it comes to data, but must ensure that they are confident with their data literacy skills to have the right strategy and culture. Now, literacy is the third important pillar, I would say, the data literacy part of it. It's a key element throughout the organization because in data literacy is the human element. Data literacy is the ability to read, work, analyze, communicate with the data. Not everyone in the world needs to be a data scientist, but they need to be data literate. The first characteristics of data literacy is ability to read data. The second characteristic being ability to work with the data. The third being ability to analyze the data. And final characteristics would be to communicate with the data. Overall, data literacy is a pillar and a strength for the organization. And as a part of a five pillar, two pillars I will be talking about, as a part of the five pillar data driven strategy, data literacy helps in implementing the strategy which has been formulated. I go further, and the most potent or one of the most strongest thing that comes in is the technology. Let's make one thing clear upfront. Any technology is not strategy. It is a tool. Data doesn't just come to an organization ready-made for our use. There are other factors that need to be in place to ensure that data is ready for use and to bring in or drive in those efficiencies. Within technology, we have tools that allow democratization of the data. We have various technologies today available for different kind of organizations, for different functionings, which can be used. But this technology has to be married with something which I talked about at the very outset. That's a culture. So when I'm asked what is the number one roadblock in a data-driven organization to be successful, I would, without any hesitance, I would say that answer is the culture of the organization. You can definitely bring in technology. You can definitely train people on data literacy. You can have a fantastic strategy by bringing in data scientists, but culture of an organization is something which is very important. And I break it down to four legs or four things. It's about traditions at the organization, the skill sets in the organization, the beliefs in the organization, and organization's personality of or its a way of doing things. For organizations to be truly successful with data and analytics, these four things have to be very strong and steady. Ready use of data to drive successful work can only come in when these are, very seamlessly married with each other. So this is how I will put in the five pillars, and I reiterate it again, being the strategy, the leadership, the technology, uh, the culture, and the literacy part of it. And when these things are very much in place and they are working in tandem, we can have a success in a data-driven organization. That's what I would say, Mahin, and over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. I would definitely need your help because you talked more about the strategy part and the leadership and the culture and the literacy part. And there are a few things you talked about the tradition, beliefs, and various things. I hope we can definitely, if we train the people in the right way, because you will be talking about the literacy very often. So I think we can actually build up this, or we can build this culture in the organization by imparting some kind of training or creating that mindset in the organization. I hope which should start from the boardroom itself. You talked about it. The leadership itself is don't see the data valuable. So maybe the generation below them will not be able to find any value in the data. So I'll come back on this again, sir. Be ready, be prepared for this thing. I will be taking your help in other slides now, and I'll ask few of the things again to you. But as you rightly said, I hope, and this is the one thing which I can actually conclude by looking at the two polls which we have done, and based on the culture and the organization characteristics that you talked about, or the pillars you talked about, data-driven companies can definitely create incident-free workplace. I hope I can conclude now because we have talked much about how this can be utilized in the organization. And having drawn this conclusion that companies can create incident-free workplace, but there should be something that we need to do. Now, when we talk about the organization, we talk about the culture, but there should be something extra that we need to do. And I go back to my basic principle. Now, there has to be something, but to have that something, the benefits has to be very clear. And I personally think now these are the four benefits. Obviously, this is based on the research and the responses that you have given. Now, you will have less accidents at the workplace. These are the four phases of now. If you invest in this data-driven culture or data-driven organization or data-driven strategies, you will definitely have these four benefits: less accidents at the workplace, reduction in the risk level, increase in the compliance level, and more engaged workforce. We talked about this employee engagement in the last webinar. It was a wonderful one. So I think these are the four benefits which can be seen if we invest our time, energy, and resource in this particular data-driven strategy or data-driven framework in the organization. These are the four one. But to have that, we need to have some kind of framework. And I talked about in the initial phase when I opened this webinar, we talked about four things. Now we go deep into this about the framework, because unless and until, Sujoy sir, I personally feel if the framework is not there, though we have a culture, we have maybe we have a data-driven organization also, but you started with the strategy part at the first. So I think we need to have some kind of framework at workplace. Then only we'll be able to achieve certain things of this the entire data-driven strategy that we're talking about. So framework, why we need framework? Because we need to make certain decisions. I come to the conclusion part of it. We want to make decisions, and this was highlighted in the first poll. Somebody said there were three responses around that it is used for decision making. So at the first place, now organization, data analytics, we need to collect data to analyze it because we want to solve certain problems at the workplace. and the focus should be on the outcome. We should always start with the outcome, and then the decision will come automatically with that. So we talk about the discovery phase, the insight phase, the decision making, and then the outcome. So have a look at the complete framework in a detailed way. But before I move ahead, if we really invest in this framework, few things, we can make more informed decision. We'll have better targeted investment. When I talk about investment, it can be in terms of the resources can be utilized very efficiently, or the activities that we perform can be done in a lesser time, or we can have a higher compliance level, and we'll see less accidents or serious injuries will be less in the organization. These are definitely some of the very high benefits that we can draw from data-driven analysis. Basically, if you have that organization of data-driven safety analysis, these are the three prominent things that you can definitely vouch on. These are the one you can definitely achieve it. So having said that, there should be some analytics tool that we should use along with the framework to analyze this data. Unless and until we don't use it, because I remember Sujay also talked about we can bring in technology. That's not the data. No, that's not something you need to input the data, but that is a technology. That's not the strategy. But when you have a data and it becomes a knowledge, then it becomes a wisdom that was talked about. We need to have some kind of analytics tool to have that wisdom or how to come to a conclusion. So there are types of analytics. Basically, it's a descriptive analytics. We will go and have a look at it from the safety perspective. There is a descriptive analytics where what has happened basically. We will analyze what has happened till now. It's the past and the current one. Diagnostic analysis, it's about why it happened basically. Obviously, when you go to the doctor and we have some kind of, if there is a fever, they go to the diagnostic lab and test your blood basically. It's about why it has happened basically. Predictive analytics, where we try to foresee our future basically. What could have happened in future? Prescriptive analytics, what should be done now to stop further things? And there is adaptive and autonomous analytics. It's all about how to adopt the change. We need to adopt the change also. But the first four elements, it's about the descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, and the prescriptive analytics. These are the four major analytics tools which a company can use based on the data. At every level, you see there is a data associated with it. Let me go further and let me show you how it actually looks like. So descriptive and exploratory analytics, it's a hindsight basically. It's all about what happened and why this is happening in my organization. It's a diagnostic tool basically. It's a hindsight. If I further go, exploratory and predictive analytics, it's all about the insight. What's the reason why it is happening? Now, I want to know the reason. When we do an incident investigation or maybe near miss investigation, we want to know why it has happened basically. So there is something like some kind of diagnostic tool you are using basically. 5 analysis is a diagnostic tool when you do a near miss investigation in an organization. And what will happen? Now, we always say, now let's have a learning from every near miss, let's have a learning from every incident, let's have a learning from the accident which has happened, so that in future we should not have such incident. We are trying to talk about some kind of predictive analytics in that area. What will happen? But it's a limited data. We only have one accident. Now we are talking about the volumes of data. And you remember that I talked about one triangle, Henry's triangle. It should be, you should always look at it the reverse way. At the bottom, there is a lot of data. And if you want to know what will happen in the future, you should look at the bottom of the pyramid. And now it's the top of the pyramid. Something should be in your sight. So what will happen we're talking about? And then comes the prescriptive. It's a foresight. How can we make it happen basically? And if you want to, how can we make it happen? How can we achieve our zero harm vision? What all should be done based on the predictive analytics? We should design some kind of strategies at a workplace to achieve this. But every element, if you see, or every analytics is very important at every stage, because you will be using one or the other tool, not simply the predictive analytics tool. You can jump the ladder. You need to build up from bottom, right? From descriptive to predictive, and from predictive to prescriptive analytics. And if I look at the somewhat of data again, how companies are using this basically in their organization as of now, there is a wonderful research available, and I took this data from that. Now, 38% of the companies are only doing simple reporting in descriptive analysis. What happened? It's like capturing unsafe act, unsafe condition. What happened? I'm just looking at it. If I take an example of a welding activity, there is a welding work which is done in the organization. Prior to carrying out the welding work, there are a lot of activities that we need to perform. There has to be a policy, there has to be procedure, there has to be risk assessment, there has to be JSA, there is a competency building, then there are TPIs, the machine is safe to operate. There are multiple things that we have to make it safe. and before we start and do that, perform that activity at the workplace. But once the activity is performed by the welder at the workplace, then we start capturing the data of unsafe act, unsafe condition. Primarily, we start with unsafe act, unsafe condition, which is nothing but a safety violation. We start capturing what happened now. 38% of the companies are only doing simple reporting. Diagnostic, 36% are doing some kind of advanced reporting data. Why did it happen basically? Predictive analytics, 9% only are doing predictive analytics, which can be majorly used for decision. And if you look at this complete chart, now the data is on the left hand side. There is a data. We are trying to collect this data. We are trying to use some kind of analytics tool, which is in the middle section, and we are trying to make some decision. And based on the decision, we are trying to create some kind of action plan, maybe a prescriptive one. We are trying to design some kind of strategy. So 38% simple reporting, diagnostic 36%, 9% are only using predictive analytics. Major thing lies here, and 17% are using this kind of decision in the organization to create some kind of action. Think of this data. What I've shown you, you can actually analyze your company also, where actually you fit into this chart basically. But it's a wonderful way. I go back to my again this thing. Now it's a descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive analytics that we need to look at. Now, looking at the point of view of the Henry's triangle, this is a wonderful triangle. I say the person has done a lot of research, and it's a completely data tool, analytics tool that we can use and correlate our data to make future decisions. The bottom of the pyramid lies, now we capture the data of the unsafe act, unsafe condition. From that, we try to create some kind of trend analysis. We use some kind of Excel sheets to create some kind of chart. We try to find some kind of insights in that. What is the pattern basically? What are why people are not following the safety procedures, or why there are violations? And we try to convert this insight into a wisdom in the organization, or make some kind of risk reduction strategies basically. Now, this is a simple technique of collecting the data, creating knowledge out of it, then finding insights or patterns, and then creating a wisdom. If I completely look at from the Henrich perspective, and if I try to put all the elements which I talked about, the analytical methods that we have just discussed, unsafe act, unsafe condition is the foundation of everything basically. You collect this data. It can be at least behavior, unsafe of the safety violations basically. You can definitely have some kind of non-compliances in terms of the audit data also. We can collect all the data at one place. These are the data foundations. But how you put your foundation will affect how you're going to design your future strategies in the organization. So it's a data foundation. If I go about, it will be descriptive what happened basically. The incident without injury. We're talking about the descriptive analytics. When we talk about some kind of near misses or the accidents or the medical incidents that has happened, we're talking about the diagnostic tool. Why did it happen basically in my organization basically? Then we talk about lost time injury, and we move ahead that how this can be prevented in the organization. What is likely to happen if these are the things that is happening at my workplace? If there is a repeat of unsafe act, unsafe condition, can I make some kind of decision? Can I predict certain things in the organization? Now, what is likely that is going to happen in the future also? And then comes, what should I do about it now? That's a prescriptive analysis, because I want to save my fatal accidents, or I want to save my incidents in the organization. This is the correct way of using the complete analytics tool in your organization based on the foundation data. It can be any data. I'm just talking about one Henry's triangle, but there are a lot of data around every aspect of the safety that we work on. It can be audit, it can be inspection, it can be the mock drills that you do, or it can be safety violations, it can be observations, multiple things. That's the foundation of data, and data should be in volumes. It's very, very important. And that's how we use the tool. So when we talk about the next investigation tool of near miss, always remember you're trying to do a diagnostic on it. Why it happened basically, and how we use it. And there are certain tools again available around that. Any question till now? Because we talked about the organization characteristics, we talked about some kind of data framework, and we talked about some kind of analytical tools that you should be used at the workplace to create some future strategies. Any question till now? If you have, by the time Sujat said people post some of the questions, just want to know about one aspect that you talked about. I said I will come back to you. The data literacy. Now you mentioned about data literacy a lot. Can this be developed in the organization, sir?
Yes. So Well, we live in an information age, and data is all around us, and it is the, as you said, oxygen, soil, and gold, and so on and so forth. But as I had mentioned at the outset, that every information doesn't become data. When information gets structured, it acquires that connotation of data. Um, Generally, what we have around us is unstructured data, and that data, when that information, when it gets structured and is available to us as a data, it requires a certain amount of understanding to recognize it first, as you mentioned in one of your slides, that discover it. It has to be recognized that this is a data, and then how to use it, how to communicate around it, how to utilize it comes in. So data literacy is extremely important in our organization or any organization. And another important aspect, which I think is very much related to the analytics, and I'm sure you can talk about it, is the blind spotting of a certain kind of
Correct.
data. Certain times we see something right in front of us, but we are blindsided to it. And this is because of several reasons. This is because of certain incorrect assumptions. This is because of overconfidence. This is because of you know there is a human element to it also. So I would say, while analytics looks very science driven, there is a human element also in it. And data literacy ensures that we have the correct approach towards our analytics. And literacy can only happen when training or its constant reiteration is part and parcel of organizational culture.
Oh, that's wonderful, sir. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I remember that word blind spot. Okay, we'll come to it. That was wonderful, the thing that you shared. So now, having looked, we talked about many things. We talked about analytics. We talked about framework, culture, and organization. Still, I give you an option to you. You can still think whether your organization is a data driven, whether it is data informed, or whether it is data aware. Moving ahead, every industry may have a, I think Sujay sir will definitely agree with me. Every industry may have a data culture maturity. It can varies from industry to industry. It can depend upon organization to organization how they have evolved, over a period of time, in terms of the culture or the organization they are today. So it should vary. And let's have a third poll basically at this point. What are the biggest challenges that your organization face in implementing a data-driven organization? What all you foresee in terms of, there is a QR code available. I would again request every participant, it's a humble request, you can scan the QR code. I hope Shreya must have shared Shreya, you can share the link in the chat. So you can scan the QR code or you can simply open the link and we will have some kind of analytics around it. Shreya may take 2 to 3 minutes to post. By the time you respond, and she take that analysis and she'll post it in the chat. But Suja sir, I come back to you again, and I'll give you only a minute to answer that question now, because you talked about one more thing, and you talked about the management and the leadership word was used by you. Now, after the strategy, there was a
Yes.
second word you talked about leadership. Can you? And I'll give you a
Yes.
minute only to talk about the leadership part of it. How crucial is this leadership when it comes to data-driven organizations, sir?
It extremely crucial because leadership gives identifies the right direction. It is leadership which will arbitrate on the strategy part of it. Hence, leadership firstly, the leadership element has to be conversant, proficient towards data, and it should understand that data is going to bring in that element of efficiency in every aspect of the organization, and safety being one of the most important part of it.
Sir, one thing. So, does the mindset change of the mindset start with the top or at the bottom? A quick
Very
one.
much. It starts with the top. It starts with because all these things are driven from the leadership. Leadership, if it doesn't adopt, adapt, accept that data is foundational, data is something which is going to take the organization to the next level, it doesn't happen. And hence, the first thing that leadership has to deep dive into is its own data literacy, and also understanding how that data will be utilized, how it will be interpreted, how it will be communicated within the organization. Hence, the element of data democratization is also there. If you hold on to the data, if you say that you build in hierarchies, this data will not be shared, a person at a certain level can only have access to it, then I think it clogs the process and the whole purpose is defeated, and it is no longer then a data driven organization.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful insight. Sorry I troubled you. I may come back to you again after some time. I hope the poll result should be ready with us. Uh, this is the third poll that we have, and I hope many people have responded now. What are the biggest challenges? It's an initial cost that they talk about. Digital data integration is one of the case. Employee adoption and data accuracy. Wonderfully and rightly pointed out, sir, absolutely correct. Initial cost, the data integration, and the employee adoption. That is what literacy level I was talking about, Suja sir, with you, and the data accuracy you're talking about. Yes, these are some of the elements which can actually be the challenges for many organizations. To move ahead and let's see, do you think it is so complicated? I don't think it is so complicated. I hope Suja sir will also agree with me that this should not be so complicated to create a data-driven organization. But yes, you need few things to be data analytics and to have that culture in an organization. And I'm just putting everything what was discussed till now. We should have processes around. If you want to have a data-driven organization, there has to be processes very well defined in the organization. There has to be skill set in the organization. You need to develop that, and everything can be done. You need to identify the right use cases. When I talk about the right use cases, because everybody would like to know what is the ROI. If I'm doing this, what is the return on investment? So if I identify the right use cases and I can draw some kind of benefits out of it, which I showed you, there are the four major benefits. You can reduce the accidents, risk level, employee engagement is very high, and the compliance level is very high. So your rightly identified use cases can give you a wonderful result. There has to be governance mechanism around this data. Data and analytics tool, what kind of tools are you using, are the right tools to do the data analytics? You need to have some kind of architectural framework in the organization, some kind of standardize of the data. I hope there are two words which came when I started my presentation. It was about the structured data and the unstructured data. And Sujat just mentioned few minutes back, structured data and unstructured. So there has to be some kind of standardization around it, and the literacy level has to be there. These 8 elements, if you implement in your organization, you can definitely be a data-driven organization, and you can achieve that actually. If I further move ahead, and if you really want to be a data-driven culture, we are going to give you a very simple formula how this can be done and how this journey can begin. It's a very simple journey. There is nothing that we need to work on, but yes, we can start from tomorrow onwards, or you can start immediately. The first and the foremost thing is that identify the influencers, data champions. I think Sudhashar mentioned very categorically that we have people at the workplace. They are subject matter, they can be subject matter expert, or they understand this data very well, or they can work around this data very well. Identify certain data champions in your workplace. Like how we identify the safety champions who have contributed in safety, we can identify certain champions who understand this. Measure the D&A, that is data analytics initiatives, or measure the value that is going to draw out of this. Measure that thing. Now you market this in your organization. You start selling this concept, these safety champions or the data champions whom you have identified. And if you identify the right value that they're going to draw from the data analytics, you can sell this concept to every person in the organization. These people will definitely help you to sell this concept, and it will spread like anything. And then you can up or reskill. Now, the data skills basically you need to constantly do that. That is the reason, Sujay sir, I came back and asked to you about the data literacy, and I hope you have answered it very well. That we need to, it's a constant process. You need to keep doing it, and we can do it. And at the end of it, be patient. It will definitely happen. It's a very simple influencing technique of how you can create a data culture, irrespective you have a mindset, but it has to start at the bottom of the bottom where people are actually working. So identify data champions who can actually help you to sell this concept in the organization, because they are the one who can say, oh, we got this result based on this data. Measure the value that you have drawn out of it. It's a real ROI, and sell this concept. Keep selling this concept. Upskill and reskill, and be patient. every graph that we see doesn't mean it is analytics. You need to be patient and you will definitely get some kind of value out of it. But there is a weakest link. I hope Sujal sir mentioned at one place, having said about many things, he said culture is the core of everything. Is it a data culture? So now what is the weakest link? Sir, I have written one line, is it a data culture that is the weakest link? Giving a 1 minute to you, do you really agree with me? This is one point, this is one point. There can be many more, I hope. I know that. But can this be one of the weakest link in the organization when the company wants to create a data-driven culture, sir?
Very much, because see, data is data which is factual, data which is from coming ground up. It can spring in surprises, and we know that it's a human nature. Anything which comes to us, which is not to our scheme of things, we just shun it. Say, let's take a data which comes to a safety person, a organization which has been very, very compliant, a organization which has been a very safety driven organization, but he gets a data which shows a contrary picture. Now, if the culture in the organization is to just keep it or marginalize it, or just put a lid over it, then I think the purpose is lost, because data will not lie. Structured data, reliable data, real ground up data will not lie. And if you have a narrative that, we are a safe organization, we are a safety conscious organization, but your data is showing that no, you are not. And if, as a matter of culture, you keep it under lid, then I think the purpose is lost. Then you are not a data driven organization. Then you are bringing in that human element. Then you require a change of the mindset. The mindset should be such that you should embrace the data. You should embrace the data which is coming in, and that data may be negative to you at times, because when you ascribe to a data that this is negative and this is positive, then I think you are missing the point. Data will come based on whatever is your and if it is a reliable data, if it is a proper structured data, then it will bring out the reality on the ground. Now, if you are getting, if as per you that data is negative, and if you're trying to hide it or trying to give it a positive spin, then I think as a culture it's not right. And that's why it is very important. That's why I say that that's the weakest link. Everyone, we are living in an age of data, so data is all around us. But moment something shows up which is contrary to our beliefs, to our understanding, to our tradition, to our relations and so on, we say that no, let's not look at it. And that's where we lose out, because the culture should be such that data should be accepted, data should be embraced, and because then only it can help us to analyze it, then only it will help us to bring in right decisions around it, and so on and so forth.
Thank you so much, sir. Because why I say that, because you talked about traditions, the belief, and everything, and you try to close your eyes, or you have a you're creating a blind spot that okay, I don't want to believe it. Thank you so much for that value, sir. I think having said that, what you talked about the mindset and other things, I think every in the chain, every chain should work. Every link should work basically. Otherwise, we're not able to have the data culture in the organization. So it starts with data gathering that you talked about. That data, which is ground up, the data doesn't lie. If you gather the right data, now it is accessible to every person. You said you hide the data, so you gather the data. It is made accessible. It is made accessible to every person. It is a trusted data. You identify the right use cases, what exactly you want, and you extract the insight from it. You make a decision and you create action. Maybe the case it can be positive or negative, but you still get a chance to make decision and to prevent every future incident in your organization. And I hope all part of the value chain should work. And this is how actually, if I put it in a small in a links, so gather data, make data accessible to every person in the organization. It is a trusted data. Identify the right use cases that you want, extract the insight from it, make decision and create actions. And I think you'll have a data-driven culture in the organization. So how much and how can a data-driven approach improve decision making in the organization? If I ask this question, because we at the end of it, when I saw the first poll we did, we talked about, or somebody responded, improve the decision making. It can help us to do that. But how it can do that? it can do only in two ways. If you really want to improve the decision making, as of now, many of the organizations are working only, they identify the problem and they just want to find the solution around it. So they need to move from to. It's like problem, then put your data analytics problem solving techniques. It's a data analytics tool, a data driven culture, and based on that, you start to identify the solutions. Because if you simply have a problem and try to identify the solution, it's all human elements are attached to it. You may not have a right decision or you may not make the right decision. But if you use the data driven approach, you have a problem. It's a framework also, problem. Then you have a data analytics tool or analytics framework you're using to find the right solution, because data will help you to make a lot of decisions. It can give you 2 or 3 options of decisions also. You're making it. So try to do this and you can improve your decision making in the organization based on the data analytics. But having said that, there is one important element. Problem solving is what? Or we talked about the use cases should be identified. Start with the outcome. Sorry, the E is missing. Start with the outcome, not with the data. Don't start with data. This is again a one, you can fall in the trap of it. Start with the outcome, not with the data, and don't down into data. You start you identify the outcome of the decision that you want to make, and then start working on it. Start gathering the right data, discover that thing. And data collection, it should be a continuous process. It should not be a one-time activity. It's a continuous process. And here comes one thing that Sujasa, you talked about, the person who is actually reporting the data. If he is so much literate that this data, what he's going to report, is going to use for decision making, he will always report accurate and relevant data. He will not report any inaccurate or irrelevant data, because he is also so much literate in the organization that he knows that what the data he's going to submit as of now is going to use for decision making. So he'll be so conscious to report a very relevant and the accurate data, and you will have data accuracy, because there should be because data accuracy was one of the options where somebody responded in the poll. The data accuracy, yes, there comes the data driven organization or data driven culture. If every person in the organization is data driven and he's so conscious and he's well literate, he will never report a wrong data. Absolutely not. But you need to create that data driven literacy in our organization. It's very, very important. And the last one, I'm putting your point, Sujata sir, I'm copying it from you. Now, you said it talked about the mindset, you talked about the skill set, you talked about the tool set, and I added one more element to it. It's a data set that you need to have to improve decision making. I hope it started with the mindset that you rightly talked about. You talked about the skill set. Now we talked about tools or the tool sets, and we have a data set. If these 4 things are combined together, I hope the organization definitely can have a data-driven strategy also. They have a right framework in the organization. They will have a data-driven culture also, and they will have a data-driven organization also. And the end of it, the ROI, what we look at, the benefits or the 4 payoff that we look at is company will be able to make decisions in the right way. They can use this data analytics as a competitive edge, or to reduce the injuries at the workplace, or to engage employee at the workplace. It's very important. And there are 4 types of common blind spot. You covered it, sir. Just to highlight it. Having said about everything about data, we talk so much about data, so much framework, but definitely there is something that we need to look at, because it can be a problem area, blind set, a blind spot. Now it can start with the invalid assumptions. Very important. You can have a tunnel vision, a very, very small sighted vision. You have a tunnel vision, or the overconfident you can be, or you can draw conclusions very fast, very, very fast. So invalid assumption, tunnel vision, overconfidence, and Sujat sir, you want to say something about it? Just to conclude, anything on the blind spot? Now it's as you mentioned
Yeah,
about the invalid
so
assumptions.
this is, I would say we all are in some ways, we all suffer from this, and the most difficult part of this blind spot is that we are not, many a times we are not aware of it. See, because we all are thorough professionals, we work in our fields, so we are so confident about our own stuff that this blind spot, when it appears, we are ready to accept it. And that denial of blind spot leads to whole lot of problems. So when you have a data, and if it is based on invalid assumptions, because we are not ready to acknowledge that our we are not ready to we are ready to acknowledge that our assumptions have been invalid. Our tunnel vision is, when we are so focused on a certain thing, we just are oblivious that there is something else also coming into the picture, and but we are not aware of that. And if I am to take a example from armed forces, this is something which happens in fighter pilots, and they are trained around that many a times when they have to take a decision of firing an armament or a missile, they suffer a blind spotting. It is because of certain tunnel vision or overconfidence, and they end up doing a wrong thing, and there is a whole amount of training which happens. So we as ordinary professionals who are or professionals who are into safety management or safety, we have to understand that blind spotting is a part and parcel of what we do, or it comes in. And the first thing towards blind spotting is acknowledge that there can be a blind spot. You may not be aware of it. You may not be aware of it because invalid assumption. You may not be aware of it because of overconfidence. You may not be aware of it because of tunnel vision, and you may not be aware of it because you are already set yourself to the conclusion. Hence, this is very important. So if I go to the previous slide, Mahen, where we have emphasized that there has to be a shift in the mindset. So this is all about that mindset. This is happening within our processor, which we call it brain, and our emotions and thoughts which come out of that. So there has to be a shift in the mindset towards data. So a data can there can be a blind spotting towards it. Now, how if we shift that thing and we are open and acknowledge that, then we have, I think, crossed the first, or we have set a right foundation. Second is, of course, to strengthen the skill set. We have to have data literacy, the knowledge around it, understanding around it, communicate around it, and then the tool set comes in, which will give us a force multiplier. It will sharpen it. It will give us a added edge. And then only the data set which we have, and which Mahin talked about, that it is on the bottom of the pyramid, the very huge amount of catchment that we have of UA and UCs, that will help us to improve our decision making. So there is a linkage between that blind spotting and the shifting of mindset. There is a linkage between strengthening of the skill set and sharpening of the tool set. And of course, there is a need for having synergy between all these four aspects of mindset, skill set, tool sets, and data set. And then only we can bring in a next level of decision making, the speed of that, the quality of decision, and how it impacts the organization.
That's
Over
wonderful.
to you,
Thank you so
Mahen.
much, sir. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much, sir. Wonderful thing. Any question and session, any questions that you want to have related to whatever we have covered till now, you can post it in the chat. We'll definitely take one by one. And we come to an end to the webinar. Here are a few things. By the time I scroll down few slides, if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat, and you can submit the feedback form also, which will be shared in the chat.
Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day or evening, and we will see you next time. Stay
Mahen, there is a
connected.
question. Sorry.
Okay. Please.
So there's a question from Mr. Mohan, who says that start with the outcome and not data, if that can be explained. So I think we had discussed about this, and if you can just take this up. We have mentioned that, and you talked about it some time back.
Please go ahead, sir. Please go ahead.
So if I understand it right, yeah, so the outcome part of it is, see, as a strategy, we always decide as what would be our objectives and goals. So I think when Mahen talked about the outcome, he is talking about the specific goals and objectives. So in case, in especially a safety related or a safety management kind of a context, it would be to have a total safe area of work, or absolutely zero risk and so on. So it is the outcome is primarily the objective and the goal that we have as a organization from safety perspective. Thank you, Mr. Mohan. I think you got it.
Thank you, Mohan, for asking the question.
Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day or evening, and we will see you next time. Stay connected with us for more insightful webinars and events. Before we conclude our webinar, we have some exciting news to share. As a token of our appreciation for joining this webinar, we're thrilled to offer you complimentary access to our comprehensive e-learning course. This is a fantastic opportunity to enhance your skills and dive deeper into the topics we're discussing today. We hope you take advantage of this incredible offer. This course is designed to complement what you've learned today and provide you with additional resources and insights to further your knowledge. Don't miss out on this opportunity to advance your skills and achieve your learning goals. Welcome to the e-learning course on the importance of data-driven safety in developing a proactive safety culture. This course is designed to provide you with comprehensive knowledge and practical strategies to harness data effectively, thereby fostering a robust safety culture within your organization. I'm Liza, and today, in this course, we will explore the critical intersection of data-driven safety and safety culture. We will examine how data and analytics contribute to a safer workplace, delve into the elements that constitute a proactive safety culture, and discuss actionable strategies to leverage data for enhanced safety outcomes. By the end of this course, participants will be able to first, understand the definition and importance of data-driven safety. Second, identify key data sources and metrics for safety management. Third, define safety culture and distinguish between proactive and reactive safety cultures. Fourth, recognize the benefits of integrating data into a proactive safety culture. Fifth, implement strategies to enhance safety outcomes using data. Sixth, foster a proactive safety culture in their workplace through data-driven decision-making. To wrap up this introduction, I want to emphasize the transformative power of data-driven safety in developing a proactive safety culture. By the end of this course, you will be equipped with practical strategies and insights to create a safer, more data-informed workplace. Let's embark on this journey together and make a meaningful impact on your organization's safety culture. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started. We hope you found this session insightful and valuable for your professional growth. Please take a moment to fill out our quick feedback form by scanning the QR code. Your insights will guide us in delivering even better content in the future. It's easy and only takes a few minutes. Simply scan the QR code or click the link provided in the chat to share your thoughts.
You can scan the QR code to give the feedback, and the e-certificates will be issued to you on your mail once you submit the feedback form. Once you submit, it will be in your mail. I hope the QR code is available or the link is also available. Shreya must have posted the link in the chat, or you can scan the QR code to submit your feedback. It is valuable for us. Here is our mobile application where you can find or you will see the recorded link of the webinar available on a mobile application. You can search it on Google, or you can Google Play Store, or you can search it on uh, Apple Store also. CLIDE safety application, and you will find all our previous podcasts, previous webinars, the articles, which is easily available. You just have to register and you can use it, and you can read and go through all the data that we have uploaded in the app. I'm putting the feedback link now for you. Thank you once again for joining. Thank you, Suja sir. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening to all. Thank you, Shreya, for helping. I'm going to stop my screen now.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, sir. We'll definitely continue the series of webinar. This is the second series that we have been doing. Recently, we have started, but we'll definitely, David sir will continue this. It will be every month or maybe once in 2 months. We'll definitely post our webinar. Our next webinar is coming on predictive data analytics, sir. And the recordings are definitely will be available. As I said, you can download the link from the Google Play or Android mobile. Android, you can download the application. Our previous webinars are also available. It is hosted on YouTube, and we will mail you all the data related to the webinar. We'll share with you on your mail ID. Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful
Thank
evening.
you.
Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.